Hey everyone, I'm Princess Link, and welcome back to Metal Gear Solid 2. Chapter 24, the codec buzzed again. Jack? What is it, Rose? She hesitated. I've always been alone. Huh? I'm so lonely. Lonely? Rose, we've always... Not always. What do you mean? You've never slept beside me. What are you talking about? After we've been together in my room, you stay awake all night or you hit the door. I'm sorry. Has canonically had sex. It's funny if you say yeah forward, but I'm not gonna, because this is family friendly. Ignore all the other times I've cursed. Anyway, Biden rubbed his brow. Is this really the time to bring this up? Why, Jack? Why? Listen, Rose, I'm right in the middle of... Why? Why can't you relax when you're with me? Look, the mission. Why don't you open up to me? Rose, He gave up trying to avert the conversation. He stopped moving and leaned against the wall. I just can't, she went on. All I ever wanted was to share your dreams. To spend a meaningful evening with you. I just wanted to find you by my side when I woke up. Is that too much to ask? Biden fumbled for words. Then he came out with it. It's the night. I'm scared of the night. It's nothing to do with you. Scared of the night? What's that supposed to mean? I can't relax when I'm with someone. Jack, you wouldn't even let me into your room. I need privacy. I just can't be bothered. Bothered? Wrong word. What I wanted to say is there are certain things that I have to keep to myself. Do you remember that I forced my way into your room? We'd known each other for almost a year, and you blew up. It was the first time you ever raised a hand against me. Which is like such a weird line. Like, are you saying that Biden is a domestic abuser? I'm sorry, what? It's just such a weird line. It's just brought up and like, it's just, she just says, it was the first time you ever raised your hand against me, and then it's never elaborated on. It's like, what the frick, man? What the frick? Anyway, Raiden saw on the monitor that she was crying. What about this on? I was so worried about you, she sniffed. Look, I'm sorry. It wasn't your violent nature that scared me. It was your room. Your height. Stop it. There wasn't anything in your room. Only a bed and a small desk. It looked like a prison cell. Stop judging him. Like, seriously. If he doesn't want anything in his room, then just let him live. Just let him live his life. Rose. Anyway. Rose? No television set, no family pictures, not even a poster. Rose, I only use that room for sleeping. A lifeless room, almost like your empty hut. That's why I tried to keep you out. I thought I was beginning to understand you. Until I saw that room. My sleeve's wet. I spilled coffee all over the place. For like the second time this week. I mean, this time at least it didn't get all over like my Switch and my phone and all that stuff. This time it was just my bed and my sleeve. So yeah, not fun, man. Anyway, he couldn't help being sarcastic. Would you have been happier if I had a picture of you hanging on the wall? That's not what I was trying to say. Enough, Rose. We'll talk about this later. After the mission. Right, after the mission. And she signed off. What the? Never mind. He couldn't deal with it at the moment. Time to focus on his surroundings. B1 was much more flooded than it had been when he'd been there earlier. Now the water was up to his thighs. He waded toward the stairwell entrance to the underwater corridor. Emma was supposed to be in a locker room on the northwest corner of the floor. That was back through the passage where he found the Nikita. Which, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, by the way. I mean, that's just how I always pronounced it. Since I was, like, 13. Context being the Xenoblade character. Named Nikita. Anyway, all he remembered was the L-shaped hallway and the supply closet at the end. Raiden studied the Kodak map and determined that there was indeed another corridor leading off from the L toward the northwest. My fingers are all peely and stuff. My thumb hurts. Not fun. It must have been blocked or something, and he hadn't noticed it before. He hoped it wasn't covered by anything he couldn't move. No more wasting time. Raiden took a deep breath and dived in. The water seemed murkier. Perhaps more junk from the Hudson had seeped in. Raiden paused long enough to put on his night vision goggles, which he'd forgotten to do. Just like, they're in the game. But I've never once used them. They are there. They are certainly there. Okay. This helped considerably, but visibility was still set by. Nevertheless, he continued to stroke forward until he came to the L jog. He didn't stop. Raiden swam on, hoping that the air pocket he'd used for a breather was still there. It wasn't too far ahead. The blocked passage was to his left, closer than the air pocket. He took a moment to evaluate the situation. Also, screw the swimming mechanics. It's like Metal Gear Solid 2's swimming mechanics remind me of Super Mario 64's terrible swimming mechanics. Which I haven't played that game in like a year, by the way. Just in case you're wondering. Or at least the DS version. I don't know about the original. I don't have it. I don't have a Nintendo 64. Okay? I just have a 3DS and all that stuff. Actually, the oldest console I own is the PS3. Which is... No, it works fine. It just takes a really long time to turn on, and it's really annoying. Anyway, where was I? The blocked passage was to his left, closer than the air pocket. He took a moment to evaluate the situation. Anyway, back to Super Mario 64. I don't think I've beaten a single underwater level on that. It's not. It's just like, what? Why? Why is it like this? Honestly, I think it's almost exactly the same, if I remember correctly. And it's awful. But at least Mario won't randomly swim off in some random direction that you didn't even want him to go and then get stuck. Which happened multiple times in this game. Anyway, he took a moment to evaluate the situation. It didn't appear to be a big deal. The hallway entrance was blocked by a disabled maintenance vehicle, something like a golf cart. How'd that get in there? Raiden had simply not noticed it as anything significant during his first trip through the aquatic corridors. He ignored it for the moment and swam on until he saw the blessed shaft of light, which was still there. He ascended to the top, felt the surface, and breathed. The ceiling was now a mere inch or two from his face. After adequately filling his lungs, Raiden dived and swam back to the maintenance kite. Thanks to the water, the vehicle had enough buoyancy that Raiden could push it out of the way easily. That doesn't sound right, but I don't know enough about water to dispute it. He then went on to the unexplored hallway. The layout of the level made sense to Raiden now. The map showed that the filtration floor was divided into chambers. He'd only been in one of them. There was a hatch at the end of the section that would lead to another chamber. The northwest section was beyond that. Raiden swam easily, conserving his strength and oxygen, but it wasn't long before he needed to fill his lungs again. The distance seemed much further than it appeared on the Kodak map. Yeah, because it's not to scale, dummy. He came upon a shaft of light just as he was becoming uncomfortable. He rose to the surface and found himself just beneath an air vent. It was a nice place to park for a moment and recharge. Such weird phrasing when you're not talking about a vehicle. The Kodak buzzed. Raiden, are you reading me? This is Otacon. What's your situation? Wet and miserable. This place is flooded. The seawater that's been pumped up is pouring into the building. I see. Listen, there's something I have to tell you about Ii. Don't worry about her. I'll get her out. She's afraid of water. Raiden wasn't sure he heard the man right. What? Yeah. When she was 6 years old, she almost drowned with my father in our swimming pool. Uh-oh. She can't swim? Well, yes and no. We used to swim together We used to swim a lot together when we were kids. In fact, she swam like a fish until that day when she almost drowned. That pretty much coincides with what the colonel told me, Biden thought. When the accident happened, I was in my room. I learned later that E.E. was calling me for help. She didn't doubt for a minute that I'd be there. You could see the pool from my room, but I didn't realize at the time that she needed me. What were you doing? I was... Otacon obviously didn't want to elaborate. So Emma survived the ordeal, Raiden said. Yeah, but my father didn't. So you blamed yourself and left your family? No, E.E. seems to think that was the case. The fact is, I betrayed her. And you think she can't swim because of the traumatic experience? I haven't seen her since that day. But yes, I think so. I got a letter from Julie. I'm sorry. I hate her. Her mother after they moved back to England. In her letter, she mentioned that E.E. couldn't swim anymore. She refused to even wear a bathing suit. Damn! If she still can't swim, we're in trouble. Level B1 in the core is pretty much flooded. Look, maybe you can help her overcome the trauma. You want me to help her get over it? It's still gonna take some time to repair the Kamov. Snake busted in the conversation. Sorry, kid. Emma's rescue's up to you. That phrasing is so funny. I just busted it and like kicked down the door. Like, bitch. Bitch. Biden snorted. Thanks, an underwater mission. He hadn't done that in VR training. Look, I'll see what I can do. I suggest you jump the map of the building into your head. Snake said, because you won't have time to look at it when you try to bring him out. It's just blatantly untrue. I'm counting on you, Biden, Otacon said. I covered most of the core when I had to take out the C4s. If there's anything you need to ask me, call me on the codec. I'll do that. Biden signed off, took a breath, and continued to swim toward the end of the corridor. Eventually, he came to the hatch, which was closed. Biden grabbed the wheel and turned it, releasing a swarm of bubbles from the seal. He opened the door and came face to face with the bloated, mutilated corpse of Peter Stillman. Biden reflexively opened his mouth and yelped in surprise and fright, losing some of his precious air. Stillman had been badly disfigured by the explosion. The cadaver's arms were spread as if the man were trying to embrace Biden. The water around him was a reddy brown from the blood. Biden got hold of himself and pushed the body out of the way. It floated to the side and came to rest against the wall. The operative swam through the hatch and continued his journey into the second chamber. The corridor continued for another 30 yards or so. The C4 had wrecked the place. The walls were in shreds and pieces of machinery, tools, and fallen girders littered the passage. After a short jog to the west, Biden came to a short stairwell going up, and there was light at the top. He swam toward it and broke the surface. As in the first filtration chamber, part of the level was higher than the rest. Biden climbed out, waded through 3-inch deep water, and left the stairwell. He entered a fairly large room that had been flooded. The chamber had a high ceiling, a catwalk around the wall, so that workers could access the tall filtration machines. In the middle of the room was a sediment pool filled with water. The ceiling threw back the diffused reflection of the surface. Beams of light radiated from the water and danced on the walls and ceilings, giving the room a certain surreal atmosphere. But the most unusual thing about it was the man sitting cross-legged like a guru on top of the pool. On the surface, it was Vamp. Ben's eyes widened. How is that possible? That's a good question. I mean, doesn't it explain later that he can run on water because he has, like, special boots or something? But, like, it doesn't explain how he's able to sit on water. The vampire almost appeared to be suspended slightly above the water. The hair on his chest was highly noticeable. Why? Vamp in his freaking chest hair, man. Anyway. His eyes were closed. His forehead was marked with the open gunshot wound inflicted by Biden earlier. Biden drew the SOCOM. Still ticking, huh? He asked. Vamp's eyes opened. Unfortunately, Hell had no vacancies. Like, what? I still can't get over the fact that Vamp's voiced by Phil Lamar. Leave me alone. Anyway. The vampire began to breathe steadily, focusing on his concentration. He slowly looked as if he were erasing the tension in his body. The routine looked as if it was a dancer's stretch exercise. I mean, he is based off a flamenco dancer. Fun fact. Also, he was originally going to be a woman. I don't remember why that got changed. Also, Fortune was originally going to play the saxophone for some reason. Biden shouted, "Ha!" and fired the Soko. As if executing a series of ballet moves, Vamp elegantly dodged the bullets, but remained over the water. Biden was shocked that he couldn't hit the guy. Vamp bent forward in a low bow. A line of blood trickled down his cheeks. Just one. He stood tall and glared at Biden. He laughed and said, "I thought so. Human muscles are quite eloquent. They speak out clearly what a person's next move will be. They even tell me which way a gun's going to be pointed before the trigger's pulled. But your muscles, they're different. This should be fun, well worth the wait. You knew I was coming? You've become a nuisance. I can't let you interfere with arsenal gear." He indicated the direction behind him. "The girl's just ahead. She's of no use to us now. But she saved us well as the live bait for the big catch. Crazy Ivan sometimes speaks the truth. He must mean the Russian, Ocelot." Biden thought. "Emma's alive?" "She was, some time ago. But the flooding has become quite serious. I wouldn't be surprised if she's a mermaid now." Which makes no sense, because, like, if she was a mermaid, she would be living underwater, not being dead. That would mean she, I was thinking about this last night. Are mermaids mammals or fish? Which one? I mean, they can't be both, because that's not how that works. Are they mammals or are they fish? Maybe there's mermaids that are mammals and then mermaids that are fish, and it's like giant pain and red pain are really like not related at all, but people thought they were. This is devolved. This is totally irrelevant. Anyway, Biden wanted to curse at the inhuman being. "Did you really think killing the president would prevent a nuclear strike?" Vamp asked. "Think again." "I didn't do it." "Arsenal is still armed with a purified hydrogen bomb." "What?" "This is no ordinary nuclear bomb. This weapon's capable of heavy hydrogen nuclear fusion using layers and magnetics to generate heat-insulated compression. It was a top-secret project initiated by the current president, and Solidus has no idea of its existence. The clean thermonuclear bomb is at an experimental stage and is handled differently. Specifically, it becomes launch capable when Arsenal is activated. A nuclear threat still exists." "Then Wall Street could still..." "That was Solidus's intent, not ours." "Then we're not going to let Solidus have the bomb. He's a fool to believe that an electromagnetic pulse over Wall Street is going to phase the Patriots. To destroy them, the city they control must be reduced to rubble. Only that will bring them out in the open where they can be destroyed." "Nuke the city? 6 months ago, we lost everything we believed in. We were abandoned to take the fall in their cover. We were labeled as killers responsible for the mass murder of civilians, as well as our own allies." Like, 2 hours later, he just goes on to kill a civilian like 2 hours later for some reason. I don't know, man. Vamp is weird. He's a weird guy, okay? And the public believed every word, turning a deaf ear to whatever we had to say to the contrary. Our only goal is to wipe them from the face of the earth and destroy this world of deceit they've created along with them. "You're insane," Biden spit. "Shouldn't that be spat?" "That should be spat." "Insane? We might be the only ones telling the truth." A burst of static resounded over the shell-wide PA system. The noise echoed in the pool room. Then a voice announced, "Final check for activating Arsenal has been completed." Raiden recognized it as belonging to none other than Solidus Snake. All Arsenal personnel report to your stations. Well, Vamp said calmly. Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire? Dumbledore said calmly. It sounds like Arsenal's ready to go into operation. All Raiden could do was express his frustration and anger. Damn it! You're still hoping that the girl can install that virus that you're carrying around, aren't you? You know, it's a shame you're not going to be around long enough to handle the program. He nodded his head at the pool farther. This isn't seawater, you know. It's a byproduct of the microbes contained in the pool. The density of the water is extremely low as a result of benign aerobic bacteria taking in the supplied oxygen. Buoyancy is practically non-existent thanks to the high oxygen content. Once you fall in, you don't come up. So take a good look at your grave. The vampire then grinned, showing his fangs. A long red tongue slithered out of his mouth and licked the blood trickling down his cheek. Like, why is his tongue so long? It's like so long. It's weird. It's really weird. Like, there's... Is that nanomachines too? Probably. Show me what you've got, Raiden challenged with a growl. Vamp leaped into the air, simultaneously throwing a cluster of knives at Raiden. The operative saw them coming, dropped, rolled, and came out of harm's way. As the vampire dropped to the pool surface, Raiden blasted him again with the SOCOM. The creature seemed to brush the bullets away with his cape. He doesn't have a cape. What? What cape? Wait, I lost. With his cape as he performed a whirling dervish maneuver. Raiden ran to another side of the room. The lights above him created a long shadow that stretched across the pool. Vamp ceased twirling, reached out, and grabbed Raiden's shadow. Raiden suddenly felt as if he'd been pulled from behind. He plummeted backward and landed on his back. Vamp laughed maniacally. You're wasting your time. Vamp released the imprisoned shadow, allowing Raiden to get up and move. How do you do that? I forgot I had these thingies in my pocket. There we go. Before Raiden could bother with answering his own question, nanomachines, son! I guess. The vampire leaped to the upper structure, hung onto the catwalk with one hand, and unleashed a volley of knives with his other. The knives struck the floor mere inches from Raiden's feet in all directions. He was pinned, for the monster seemed to have an unlimited supply of blades at his disposal. Vamp aimed his throws closer to Raiden's feet, forcing the operative to jump back and forth in order to dodge them. At first, Vamp had only wanted to restrain him. Now the guy was really trying to land a hit. They were trying to hit him. Raiden cartwheeled out of the target area and landed next to a large lead pipe that extended from floor to ceiling. He ducked behind it, giving him enough time to holster the useless SOCOM and ready the AK. Let's see how he dodges machine guns! Raiden stepped out from behind his cover and let loose with a maelstrom of spare fire. Vamp pushed off from the catwalk, bounced off the floor below, soared into the air above the pool, and dived straight in. The low density of the pool didn't seem to affect the vampire at all. Had he hit him? Raiden was almost certain that some of the bullets had struck the figure. He noticed his long shadow across the pool. Raiden didn't want to fall into the predicament again, so he raised the AK and shot out the white lights on the ceiling. He then turned to fire at the lights behind him, but Vamp burst out of the pool like a fish jumping for a low-flying bird. What? That is the weirdest metaphor I've ever heard. Probably. No, that's a simile. That's a simile, because it uses like or as. Or like. Whatever. He held his knife and plunged it into what was left of Raiden's shadow. The knife dug deeply into the concrete around the pool, virtually pinning the shadow to it. Raiden attempted to pull away, but he couldn't move. His feet were firmly planted where he stood attached to a shadow that was now out of his control. Raiden twisted his body so he could get a better shot and fired at the remaining lights behind and above him. The bulbs chattered loudly, plunging the room into darkness, save for the lights in the pool itself. The illumination cast through the shimmering surface of the water made foreboding, flickering patterns on the walls and ceiling. He no longer had a shadow, so Raiden was free to move. He slipped behind the pipe once again and dug into his backpack. He found several grenades that he'd confiscated, plucked 3 frags, and readied one in his right hand. Vamp leaped over into the air once again. This time he clung to the opposite catwalk, a vantage point from where he could see the operative. "You can't hide now," the monster called. He threw more knives, forcing Raiden to do a body roll out from behind the pipe. Vamp dropped to the floor a mere 6 inches from Raiden. He held a long blade in his hand, ready to attack. Raiden knew he couldn't let the guy near him. He'd witnessed what the vampire was capable of doing to enemies in close proximity. Vamp had sliced and diced most of SEAL Team 10, and they'd outnumbered him. Raiden pulled the pin with his teeth and tossed the frag grenade at the dead cell member. He then scurried quickly behind the lead pipe. The explosion rocked the room, and the vampire cried out in pain. The pipe protected Raiden from the blast, but he didn't stay under cover long. The operative stepped out, the AK ready, and blasted the stunned figure in front of him. Vamp screamed an unearthly cry and shook with force as the rounds penetrated his body, but the non-human managed to jump away and dive into the pool once again. Raiden cursed aloud, but he knew he'd hurt the monster. He'd seen the thing's dead flesh ripped off its body, first from the grenade blast, and secondly from the AK fire. The question was, could he kill something that was already dead? He took hold of the second frag grenade and held it to his mouth. He moved around the pool to another side. Raiden could see the dark shape of Vamp's body under what is still treading. The creature was preparing to spring out and attack again. Raiden pulled the pin in anticipation, started counting, and waited. 1, come on, do your thing, mister. It's very polite for someone you tried to kill. Vamp remained underwater. 2, hurry up, damn it. He was going to have to toss it, a wasted grenade. 3, the wider surface broke as Vamp shot out of the pool. At the same time, Raiden flung the grenade at the ascending figure and ducked. The explosion hit Vamp full in the face, successfully knocking him out of the air. He tumbled like a bat that had been chopped mid-flight and fell on his back. There wasn't much of a splash due to the low water density. Vamp floated on top of the pool, still and lifeless. To make sure, Raiden aimed the AK and unleashed several bursts of rounds at the vampire's body. Vamp slowly sank as blood spread over the surface, which oddly began to boil. Raiden had seen a lot of strange things in his short lifetime, but he'd never encountered anything as ungodly as the creature known as Vamp. He made a call on the codec. "Colonel, they've apparently completed the final check procedure on Arsenal gear. Find Emma on the double," the colonel answered. "You've got to get her to install the virus program that the president gave you. When you find her, take her to the computer room on level B in the Shell 1 core." Raiden changed frequencies. "Snake, did you catch all that? I didn't make it on time. My stall's going active." "Yeah, I heard. The hostage rescue's gonna have to wait." "I'm going after Emma. We'll secure the computer room. Looks like we can't install the virus program without Emma." "Can't your partner do it?" Otacon answered. "I would if I could, but the security for this system is no joke. I need more time." "That's why we need her," Snake insisted. "Understood. I'll make sure you have your family reunion." Otacon started to say something but hesitated. "What's up?" Raiden asked. "A lot of years have passed between EE and me." "Then you should see her, right?" "I don't have the right to see her," Snake interrupted. "We can talk about this later. Raiden, I think you better get moving." "I'm on it." If you like this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!